What is good, everybody? Nathan Lombardi here with Lambo Media, joined by a very, very special guest, Super Bowl 50 champ. Obviously retired a few years ago, but doing a lot of different things in a whole bunch of new industries now with Magic Wellness, as well as Norwood Photo with his wife, Aaliyah. But Jordan Norwood, Jordan, I really appreciate you coming on. First and foremost, how are you and the family doing right now? What's the current status during the COVID season, the year of 2020? What's it looking like for you right now?
Hey man, thanks a lot for having me. Yeah, for my family, it's me, my wife, and I, like you mentioned, and then we have a 4 and a 2-year-old, 4 and a 3-year-old here too, Franny and Isaiah. And for us this fall, we were kind of a little nervous about what was going to happen with them with school.
Yep.
Because that would determine a lot of what type of time Aaliyah and I have on a daily basis. But yeah, they just started going to school about 2 weeks ago, in person. They go to Denver public schools, and everything's been good so far. We were worried about our daughter being able to keep a mask on all day, but she's doing it with no problem. So it's going good, man.
Yeah, here in 2020, with the younger generation in particular, it's been interesting. Like for me, I'm a junior in high school, obviously not too far out of the Denver area, like we were talking about before we started recording. For me, we went back in school, and now we're back online because COVID cases at my school in particular and around my school district have started to go up. So it's been interesting. The year of 2020 has been interesting as a whole. But how nice was that for you to get all of that extra time with your family, your kids in particular, because everything was shut down and there wasn't much you guys could do?
Right, it was good, man. I mean, we actually just built and moved into a house here in the Denver area in January, so we were excited about getting in here, and then we were kind of stuck in here, quickly after we moved in. But it was good. I'm thankful that my kids have each other, that we have two and not just one. We have friends that just have a single child, and it's and that's a little different. That's a little tougher, and they don't have anybody to hang out with on a daily basis. So yeah, we're glad that our kids had each other.
Yeah, and I want to transition into talking about, your football career, in particular, your NFL career. You were obviously with the Browns, the Eagles, the Buccaneers, and obviously the Broncos as well. What was that transition like for you mentally, when transitioning from team to team? I've had the capability to talk to a lot of, baseball guys in the minor leagues as well as, even the major leagues. And some have said it's been, an easy transition because they maybe know some of the coaching staff or players that already are on the team that they're headed to, or some have been in the slate where it's been tough for them to transition away from, maybe a hometown team onto a whole new team where they know absolutely nobody. What were those transitions like for you when transitioning from team to team in your NFL career?
Yeah, I mean, I think each transition was a little different. The majority of those transitions were because I got cut from one team, and I was just kind of signing on to another team. So they were always a little, nerve-wracking, and you go into the locker room kind of counting how many wide receivers they have and what it looks like for you to be a part of the team, what it's going to take. So it was always a little different, just depending on the the circumstances surrounding the transition from a football standpoint. But then on the other side of things, when it just comes to life and moving around geographically. For me, I was always excited. I love seeing new places. I grew up moving around quite a bit. And for the majority of my NFL career, I was just a single guy. So it was pretty easy to pick up and move. And it wasn't until I got here to Denver that I ended up meeting my wife. And obviously we started family out here. But, that was probably a pretty big reason why I decided to retire, is that I wasn't up for having any more transitions.
Okay.
That now that I had a family and, and had a place geographically in Denver that we loved. So we just decided to stop playing and stay put.
Yeah, absolutely. And you always hear, about the Colorado altitude. You played for the Broncos, obviously, later in your career and towards the tail end of your career. And, in particular, having to run a lot, playing for the special teams, and sometimes, obviously, even being a wide receiver for the Broncos. For you, would you say you noticed a major challenge and difference in altitude, when you initially, started getting your feet wet with the Broncos?
Yeah, absolutely. I came out here in December 2014, or 2013 December, just for a workout,
Hmm.
just to see if they would like to sign me. And I had never been out here before. I remember coming out and working out for like 20 minutes, and I was dead, exhausted. Felt like I just ran like 10 miles,
Yeah.
honestly. So I felt that right away. And when it comes to the football season, I think we definitely had an advantage for home games, but I think more of the advantage was when we went down to altitude, and you literally feel like you can run forever.
Hmm.
When you're training and practicing here in Denver, then go to somewhere like Tampa Bay or anywhere that's down at sea level,
Yeah.
you just feel like you can run forever.
How long would you say it took you to, initially adapt to that new altitude? Obviously, 5,280 plus feet above sea level here in Denver, Colorado. How long would you say it took you initially to adapt to that high altitude?
I would say it probably took a good 2 or 3 weeks. Um, yeah, I mean, I can remember just being around town here in Denver and going up a flight of stairs and feeling
Right.
it. I can remember getting here and for the first couple of weeks just sleeping in the hotel room.
Hmm.
I remember like breathing louder while I slept. So yeah, it definitely is real. It took some time, and it really affects teams when they come up here to play.
Yeah. And let's turn it back to your high school, transitioning into your college career. You not only had offers for just football coming out of high school, you obviously also had offers for basketball as well. What made you, decide to obviously only solely focus on football going into college at Penn State rather than, diversifying yourself even at that college level with both sports?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I'm definitely somebody that loves to play basketball, and
Hmm.
still get out and play when I can. Um, I felt a lot of encouragement from the Penn State coaching staff. The wide receivers coach at the time, in particular, Kenny Carter, really encouraged me and told me that I could play at that level, football, um, which I wasn't sure about personally. I was only like 5'8", 145, 150 pounds when I came out of high school. So I was pretty small,
Right.
obviously. And, I was a little unsure of myself, but, he reassured me. I had a conversation with the Penn State coach at the time, Joe Paterno. And, he reassured me that I could play at that level, and also said that, I could play basketball, a few years in if I kept my grades up after my freshman, sophomore year. He'd look at letting me play basketball, which he did. I played my sophomore year. I just played one season of basketball there at Penn State.
Okay.
Uh, so, so yeah, it all worked out. I ended up getting to get both experiences.
Right. And do you think at all, the conditioning and athleticism from the basketball court and playing basketball during high school, and even you mentioned some of your college career, would you say that at all translated over to the football side of things, and, playing basketball kind of benefited you, on the football field as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many things in basketball that translate, agility, hand-eye coordination,
Right.
all of those things helped out tremendously. And then the year I played basketball at Penn State, my sophomore year, I played the football season. Right after the bowl game, I went into basketball, and then after the basketball season, I went right into spring football.
Hmm.
And I noticed immediately that I was in better shape than I had ever been in my life.
Right.
I mean, football and basketball conditioning are completely different.
Yeah.
And obviously, that basketball, you're up and down the court. There's no real breaks or anything unless you're actually coming off the court for a substitution. So yeah, I was in much better shape, and that translated, I think, to my sophomore, junior years of football too.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's transition into talking about your NFL career. Again, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, but let's dig into it a little bit more. You went undrafted back in 2009 and ended up obviously signing as an undrafted free agent, which led you to, getting that opportunity in the NFL. Would you say that was kind of a blessing in disguise to go undrafted because it, led you to push and, maybe prove some people wrong and it left a chip on your shoulder at that time?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly a blessing to be undrafted and to be signed, obviously. Um, I was signed by the Cleveland Browns first. I got cut there in training camp and went to Philadelphia. Um, but yeah, I think being undrafted relieves a lot of pressure.
Hmm.
I mean, even the difference between a seventh round draft pick and being undrafted, um, isn't a huge difference in like signing bonus or money
Right.
or um, any of that. But there's definitely just an added pressure of being a draft pick. And obviously I don't know that firsthand because I wasn't a draft pick, but I
Right.
definitely felt being undrafted, I didn't have anything to lose. I could go out there and I could really just work as hard as I could and hopefully make the team.
And Super Bowl 50 champion. I want to talk a little bit about that season in particular with the Denver Broncos. What would you say was so special about that Super Bowl 50 team with the Denver Broncos back in Super Bowl 50 during that season? Would you say it was the team chemistry between, the teammates and the coaching staff, or would you say, it was more of a skill set, or would you say it was a mesh between the two?
Yeah, I would say that it was definitely a mesh between the two. I mean, obviously, there's tons of skilled players and teams and coaches throughout the league every year.
Right.
And I mean, even that season going into the Super Bowl, we definitely weren't the favorites by any means.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people thought we would get beat pretty handily
Yeah.
by the Carolina Panthers, but there's just intangible things, leadership from guys like Peyton Manning and DeMarcus Ware,
Mm-hmm.
leadership from great coaches also. There's just things that happen throughout a season when we needed to make a drive down the field.
Right.
We might have made it once in a game in like week 4 or 5, and that would give us confidence
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do that in the Super Bowl. So so yeah, I think most of it is intangible things. There's talent everywhere, on every roster in every league. When I was in high school, we won a state championship, and we weren't
Right.
uh, the most talented. We were very talented, of course, but there's just some team chemistry things that have to be there too.
Yeah, and I'm sure you know now, but during that Super Bowl 50 game, you had the capability to, return for the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. At that time, after you initially, returned that punt, were you aware of that, of that record, or did you really have no idea until, you initially got told and found out about it over social media?
Yeah, I definitely didn't know during the game. I can't remember how I found out, or if I even found out during the game. I
Okay.
think I did, but one thing that I did know going into the game that our special teams coach was kind of harping on,
Mm-hmm.
the couple weeks in practice leading up to the game was that just that there had never been a punt return for a touchdown in a Super Bowl ever. There still hasn't. So honestly, that's what was going through my head as I was, running down the sideline there is that, I might be the first Super Bowl punt return
Yeah.
for a touchdown. And, so my initial reaction when I got tackled short of the end zone was to be a little more upset than anything else
Yeah.
because I remembered that record that hopefully I was going to break. But obviously there was a different one that was broken.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congrats on that record at that time when you initially broke that. It's obviously a huge accomplishment, and even winning Super Bowl 50, which is, bigger than yourself, which I'm sure you're extremely proud of. But there's obviously a lot of pressure, and in particular, before a Super Bowl 50 game, and, just waiting for the punt to come down in front of that many fans. Obviously, a ton of people watching on social media and TV as well. How would you say you handle pressure? Is there anything in particular that you do to help yourself handle pressure, during those, pressurized times in your career?
I would say it's always been the same for me. It's always been, prayer and meditation. If it's standing back there before a punt or a kickoff, or even if it's a big third down and I know the ball might come my way,
Mm-hmm.
there's always opportunities, or there always has been for me, just a moment to say a quick prayer,
Right.
calm myself down, and, just kind of remember, like, God got me, and, I'm in this situation for a reason, type of thing.
Right.
So that's always been my kind of go-to.
That's awesome. And you've obviously had some memorable moments in your career, Super Bowl 50 being one of them, and that punt return in particular, obviously being one, I'm sure, as well. What would you say has been your most memorable moment in your career while you were playing in your high school career, your college career, as well as your NFL career? Would you say it was that Super Bowl 50 win, or would you say it was something else?
Man, I'll try to think of something else. But no, I mean, that the Super Bowl win and that play is definitely one of my favorite memories of
Right.
growing up playing sports. Obviously, it's the pinnacle of the sport of football. But other than that, just some memories have just been guys that I've really looked up to and had a chance to play with, like Peyton Manning. I caught my first NFL pass in a preseason game from Michael Vick, who was somebody that I watched growing up when he was in college
Mm-hmm.
and early in the pros with the Falcons. So yeah, I mean, it was always pretty cool to have those moments where your eyes get big and you're like, I can't believe I'm actually doing this. I can't believe
Right.
Peyton Manning's at quarterback. And
Yeah.
I played in the Orange Bowl as a freshman at Penn State, and I couldn't believe I was playing against Florida State
Mm-hmm.
in the Orange Bowl as a freshman. So yeah, there's a lot of those moments, and they all have their place, and are all fun to think about.
Yeah, most definitely. I want to wrap up this interview by talking a little bit about what you're doing with your career now. Obviously, you retired a few years back from playing in the National Football League, but obviously now you're diversifying yourself even more after even wrapping up your dominant NFL career, obviously with Magic Wellness as well as Norwood Photo with your wife, Aaliyah. Tell me why you're kind of wanting to still diversify yourself in so many different industries, even after wrapping up such a dominating NFL career.
Yeah, man. I think the reason is just my spirit and my wife's too. We both have entrepreneurs kind
Right.
of, mindsets and spirits, and we're talking businesses and inventions and everything all the time, all day, every day. It feels like.
Awesome.
Um, but yeah, Magic Wellness is a holistic wellness company that I started about 2 years ago. We do CBD products and other holistic goods that really are just aimed at improving somebody's quality of life, whether it's pain management, which is kind of how I got on board with all this in the first place, was using hemp products and CBD products my last couple of years in the NFL. And then my wife and I do photography together.
Mm-hmm.
We shoot portrait photography. Um, we shoot weddings every once in a while. But yeah, man, we do those couple of things, a couple other little things here and there. We do some real estate here locally,
Okay.
with just some rentals.
Okay.
But yeah, we I think diversification is a good word for it.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's awesome what you're doing, even after you wrapped up your NFL career. And I want to talk a little bit about the photography side of things with you and Aaliyah. Obviously, you got into that side of things. When did you initially, kind of start taking photography as a serious passion? And when did you kind of decide that, you and Aaliyah both wanted to, start it as a business and possibly, pursue it seriously?
Yeah, I've always been interested in photography. In high school, I mean, shoot, when I was your age, I was all about Adobe Photoshop and
Okay.
um, Illustrator. So I was always into graphic design, and I ended up getting my degree from Penn State in advertising. And then I started a graphic design degree after that also. Um, so I would always take photos and edit them and make posters for my teammates and things like that since high school. I did that through high school, through college. And then when I got out here to Denver, and I ended up tearing my ACL my first year here in Denver, and my wife bought me a camera, and that was the first camera I had ever had. I had a lot of time to figure out how to make it work and how to use it, since I had just torn my ACL and was out for the season. But yeah, it was soon after that I kind of got a handle of using the camera. Teammates would ask me to take pictures of them, in their suits before an away game or something like that. I would always bring my camera. And then, eventually, it was taking up enough time that I had to start charging people, because it was taking up too much time for me to just keep doing it for free. So I think you'll know when you need to start charging money for it.
Yeah, most definitely, Jordan. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to make this interview happen. It really means a lot, especially, you being in Colorado with me as well, being a fan of the Broncos, and you having such a dominating career in the NFL, and obviously doing a lot of inspiring things even up to this point, not only just in, the photography and wellness industry, but obviously outside of that for the community here in Colorado as well. But I really appreciate you taking the time to make this interview happen. Best of luck in the future with, everything you're doing outside of the game of football, with your careers that you're doing now that you wrapped up your NFL career, and we'll for sure stay in touch.
Sounds great. I really appreciate you having me. God bless, man.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan.